All right, so today we will do watercolor painting of flowers. We will be drawing these flowers as well, and we'll be painting them also. And I want to show you how you can create different effects with watercolor when painting flowers. So, on the face of it, we are painting flowers, yes, but the techniques that we use for painting flowers can be used elsewhere also. Now, in the event that your flowers turn out a little patchy or the color moves from one place to another, in something like flowers, it will still look quite nice. It does not look bad. But there, you start getting a feel of how watercolor will work. So, say for example, we have a flower which has a very dense, dark center, and we are doing a wet on wet color drop, and we put some color in the center, but it doesn't remain right there. It starts spreading and starts becoming going into all sorts of places. Today, I want you to not panic. Let it go. Let it do its thing. Don't try to take and dab it because we are going to have fun with this painting. The end result, in most cases, or in most of the flowers that we're going to do, should look like a spontaneous splash of color. And then one flower, I want to also show you how to paint in a very, very detailed manner, very delicate, how to create those colors so that you can control what is happening in the flower. All right, so that's just the basic instruction. Now let's look at the flowers that we have. I've sent the first three flowers because I was thinking of Alka, Ritika, and I said, okay, I'm not going to do the pansy again because these girls are experts at pansies. So I thought, let me up it a little bit. So I've sent irises, as in one iris. I looked at an iris. I looked at roses. We haven't done roses in a bit, and a lily or an amaryllis. And then I thought of you, Jasmine, and I thought, my God, Jasmine is gonna really, really hate me if I make her do these flowers first. So decided to start with something that is not going to be too intimidating for you because I don't think you and I have done flowers or painting of flowers before. So I didn't want to drop you in the very deep end of flowers or painting flowers on day one. So we will start with painting this hibiscus and then slowly move to something similar, which will be a lily. And then from there, we will diverge to more atypical flowers like a rose, where all the petals are around a center, and an iris, which is, in my mind, it's just like a flower woke up after with a hangover, still wearing clothes from the party they attended the night before. It has no idea what it's doing. Some petals are going up, some petals are going down. It's brilliantly colored, but there is just nothing predictable over here. Okay, so let's start with the hibiscus. I will give you the structure of the hibiscus just like other flowers that we have done. So we can create a shape around the hibiscus, either like a circle, or in this case, we can also just go straight to the tips of the petals and make a pentagon-like shape. So the advantage of a pentagon versus a circle is that here we already get the direction of the tips of the petals. Then we also get the lengths of the lines, the direction of the line. So we are able to create the angle at which the flower is going to face us. Then from here, it's easier to also join lines and arrive at the center of the flower. We can create distances from the center. Okay, let me just do this. We have this line, and this line. So with respect to these two lines, we know where the center of the flower is. And then from there, where these anther and pollen go. And then we can also draw the split of the petals. So I wanted to show you that there are many ways in which you can make the base structure or the fundamental structure to draw flowers. We have been doing a lot with circles, but that needn't always be the rule. Okay, so let's try doing it like this today. In many cases, I've found that drawing straight lines is a lot easier, but I'm going to also show you how your straight lines should be drawn. We're going to draw all the four flowers on this one page. So I want you to just visually divide the page into four parts and start with the hibiscus on the top left. So I've noticed that many people are still drawing lines like this. Whereas what you should do now is draw lines holding the pencil really far away and at a perpendicular to how you hold the pencil. So you can clearly see the line where it begins and where it ends, and try to match this angle to the angle of the side that I have shown on in my sketch. Even the lengths of the lines, you will be able to tell if they are headed in the right direction. Then draw the blue lines. And then just southeast of the blue line is the center. Draw a circle or an oval shape where you will draw the anther and pollen. And at this stage, again, evaluate whether you have got the right dimensions. I think I can go higher over here. This is fine. 1 second. Okay, so once you're comfortable with this, you can draw the green lines exactly like how I've drawn them. Don't draw the entire line from the center outward. Just draw the directions in which you want to take the petals. Okay, so once this is done, just make sure that this is made very lightly. You're not making too many dark lines, and holding the pencil far away will ensure that you don't put too much pressure on the line. Okay, now let's go to, we can switch between this sketch and the original flower. So wherever you can see structures, you can start building them. The pollen can be built just by drawing a cluster shape like a cloud. Don't draw each individual dot. And you will draw 5 dots that stick out of that cluster. This is usually the center of the flower. And you will end these stalks somewhere just before the flower, the hollow ends. We rarely get to see what's happening inside it. So this cluster will be painted a light color. If we draw them as individual dots, it's nearly impossible to paint those individual dots in watercolor. Then look at how the petals work. So I'm going back to the sketch where I have made the lines, and follow each line of the petal to give you that structure. Now, if you are unsure of yourself, just make the shape of the petal as an oval or as a circle very lightly as well. This can be made covering all the necessary areas. So you make sure that the petals go out as much as they are meant to from all sides. And use the lines to inform you about the shape of your petal. Just making oval shapes around. At this point, you should be able to evaluate whether you're getting the right proportions or not. And once you've got this, you can go back to the original image and refine these lines. So in some places, you have a fold that goes over another petal overlapping it. Then you have a frill-like end that gives you a shape like this. So each part that you're drawing, keep referring to the flower. And at any rate, avoid making just a quick zigzag line. So don't make a line like that, because this really doesn't make any sense. Or don't make a line like this also without looking at the flower. In some places, like over here, you do have a fold that goes up a little bit, but that's it. It doesn't go too far. So that wave is not perpetual. Look at the negative spaces you are creating. Sometimes they can tell you whether or not your shape is right. And making these outlines is really helpful. That way you know where the boundary lies, and you don't just take off and make any size of petal shape. Since these petals are all disparate, they're going in different directions, they start at a different point, it is very easy to get one petal to be much bigger than the ones that you started with, or as you proceed, one starts becoming too small. In the Tuesday class, a new student joined in. Poor thing, after three petals, she just gave up. She said her petals moved from this size to about this size by the time she came around. She just did not know how to visualize the boundary. And it was her first day, to be fair. It was not the easiest thing she had to do. Okay, once you're done with this, you can gently erase your construction lines. In the process, if part of your pencil lines are also lightened a little bit, no harm, because we are going to paint the flower, so that pencil line should not interfere in the painting anyway. The most important lines to get rid of are that oval shape in the center. And don't worry about little bits of your line being erased, like something over here. You really don't need to go and redraw this. Don't worry about it. You will be able to see it. It's not going anywhere. You're at a very close range, so uh, your eyes will catch it. All right, is everyone done? Okay, so here's how we're going to paint this. We are first going to drop in a gamboge in this spot in the center. So I'm going to give you the colors first this time, and then we are going to paint. So we have gamboge, then after that we have a mix of crimson and scarlet. And we are going to prepare both these colors in advance so that while the gamboge is still wet, we will pull out some color or make a wash in all the petals. When you're making the wash, you will drag the color from outside towards the center. We will start with these petals on top, left, bottom, and bottom right. And the last one we will pull will be the one on the right itself, so that we can bring in a lot of dark color towards the center and keep that center part wet. In this now, we are going to add a wet on wet color, and that is going to be a combination of crimson and burnt umber. That is going to be a slightly thicker color, which we are just going to drop in the center, and it is going to spread around a little bit. Thankfully, our colors are going to dry up and become a little lighter. So if it spreads out into your petals, do not panic. Let it do its thing. Okay, so here goes. These are the three colors we are making. Let's put in the gamboge. Then let's make a mix of scarlet and crimson. That's this and this one. We don't need too much pigment in the beginning. We are going to keep it reasonably watery, because this is going to be a slightly light wash, and we also need the paint to be able to flow and remain wet while we paint all the flowers petals and come towards the center. If the paint is too dry, by the time we finish one petal, it is going to become dry in the center, so that when you make that drop of crimson and burnt umber, there's hardly going to be any wetness over there. And as far as the crimson and burnt umber is concerned, make it on one side of this wash like this and keep it reasonably thick. Not too thick, because the water in this pigment mixture should go and embrace the wash, the water in the wash, very naturally. Okay, shall I do this demonstration first? Just watch it and then you can do it yourselves also. It has to be done at a certain speed. So I don't want to have to stop, and I don't want you to stop to look at the screen to see what is happening. Okay, so I am putting my gamboge in the center here, and I am deliberately spreading it out a little more than the area that we have allocated for the pollen. Now I'm taking a very watery mix of crimson and scarlet and pulling it towards the center. I'm using a slightly large brush here because I want a lot of medium in my brush, but my brush has a very good tip. So I'm able to address the edges quite well. For this, you can use a thin brush with a good point so that you can get the shape of the petal right. Now, all this while, the gamboge is slowly drying, but it is not fully dried yet. I do not want it to fully dry. That's why I have applied a little more than I needed. And I'm bringing all this to the center. Now I am going to touch the gamboge and blend it and pull the scarlet and crimson mix to the center here. So you'll see that part of the gamboge is still visible, part of it has now got this crimson mix, and I'm now going to put in the burnt umber and crimson mix right here at the base. I'm not putting too much, and because it is a thick paint, it is not going to spread too much either. So I pressed my brush down here, that's why I got this light color. I'm not going to mess with it and go and try and repaint it or even it out or anything. I'm going to leave it at this stage and let it dry. Okay, do you want to try doing this? How's it going? Everyone's done?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. All right, so let the flower dry completely. We won't mess with it right now. We're going to come back and make the details in a bit. The next flower we can make can be the rose. Let's look at the rose. So, roses are uh, what I like to call teacup flowers. So, which means that you have part of the flower looking like it's a cup and part of the flower that can resemble a saucer. So, it can be like a cup on top of a saucer. In this case, we have mostly a bud and the petals have not bloomed completely. So, it's more like a teacup itself. So, in this case, what we see is like a cup shape from the bottom, and everything else is on top of it. All these petals go within one another in a particular spiral order. And then you have some petals which form the front of the cup, that's like this one here, and some petals that form the back of the cup. The remaining are all pointing outward or sometimes even downward, and they can look like a saucer. This one petal, which is in the foreground, is hiding behind all my green lines, but this is also a petal that is eventually going to bloom outward. So to draw this, how do we? I'll share this one also, and I'll redraw another one. So for this one, what we do is try and visualize it like a cup itself. So make a line across the tips of the petals on top. Then you will draw the center shape of the cup as if it was a vessel. This will give you the proportion. How many times the oval opening is the height of your cup. And after that, it's just a matter of eyeballing, giving yourself the shape of the petals. There are few things over here that can give you enough support for all these other than just the central cup. So I will make this with some kind of proportion in mind, and then I'll just look at where all the lines go and how far they go to make the rest of the shapes. Okay, so this is how we will make the rose, structure of the rose. Again, make your lines fairly loose. Visualize how big you need to have it. See the topmost part and the bottommost part, and then look at where you want to make that oval. Once you make the oval, also check that it's not too flat. Sometimes we look at something and we think that it's going to be a certain flatness, and then once we draw it, the parts that we have to draw inside it don't quite fit. Make all the adjustments to your lines at this stage itself for the rose. Look at where the petal in the foreground is cutting. This does not look like a rose at all, but well, you know, it is. Once you're done with this, we will start making the petal in the foreground first. Always make the one shape that you can see which is unencumbered by anything else. So nothing is overlapping it. And just at the tip of the junction of this petal and the left side of the cup, you have an inverted V shape, that gives us the fold on the petal. And that goes right to the end of the teacup shape, and that is our first petal. Adjusting the bottom of the petal, I made it too big, but now I've reduced it. And from here, don't draw the teacup like a teacup anymore. Look at the lines of the petals. One thing about rose petals is that there are lots of overlaps and lots of rolls of the petals. So you can draw the inside of this petal here, going all the way till here on the right, but it stops there, the line stops there, because then it is continued by the shape of the rest of the petal around. This is the mere fold that has allowed the petal to curl outward. And then we have a rather slender but defined compound curve. Now let's draw the other side. So from this same junction, or maybe slightly lower, you can draw a line that goes around. This is the edge of the petal, and it comes straight down here. And from the other side, you have another bulbous shape coming down like so. And all the shapes inside are pretty much the same. They are curls within curls. Now to make these look more rose-like, you can draw some additional lines on the outside like this, because that will imitate the fold of the petal or the curl of the petal outside. And then of course we draw the rest of the petals. Once the inside petals are drawn, then the outside petals are basically just a shape that you have to make. Once you're satisfied with all the shapes, get rid of the guidelines. I'm rolling the eraser on the entire flower to remove or make all the lines a little lighter. And this time round, we are going to put down uh, some base shadows. So these are just our generic gray color, but much lighter, very light. So this color can be put in a few parts around the petals wherever there is an overlap on the petals. Now remember, whenever we make a picture from a photograph, we are not required to make it exactly like the photograph. There will be, excuse me, some differences, and those differences can easily be in the coloring. Drawing is very easy, but the colors can really make the picture pop. So this is a mix of burnt umber, black, and ultramarine blue. And I am going to use the same brush, but with some brush manipulation, make the dark shapes, the shadows. So I want you to see what this brush manipulation thing is. Whenever you are painting with in order to manipulate the brush, hold the tip along the edge where you want the color to be strongest, and then press it down so that elsewhere the brush does not give you a very strong line. I can repeat the same process because this was one petal, then there's another petal behind it that receives shadow as well. So I'll press it and get a shadow like that. And this time I can pull the shadow to the side also, because there is a deeper cast shadow of the preceding petal onto this one. And then wipe the brush. I want you to just observe this, don't paint. Wipe the brush and pull the color, drag the color into the rest of the space so that you don't get one fat line. Can you see that? I get a distinct line on the top because I want it there. But here I wanted to blend, so I have used a damp brush to just pick that paint, with the unnecessary color, and spread the stuff that I wanted. I'm going to do this in a couple more places, so I want you to just observe this. There is a shadow here. It's a very light shadow, so I'm not going to do too much. And then there is a shadow here as well. This can have, when I paint it like this, it might have a stiff edge on both sides. But as soon as you wipe the brush and go along the sides, you are creating some space for that color to just blend outward. So all the places behind the any petal, you will have some shadow. Here again, under towards the center and behind the current petal, it becomes dark. So we are starting to create some kind of dimension in the flower even before the colors go on. Can you see it now? If you want to go even deeper, then use smaller brushes. That will ensure that you have very little paint, and you can do the same exercise on the petals in the inside part as well. Deposit the dark color and then spread it outward with the same brush but without excess pigment in it. Then you have these petals in the front. So here again, just press the brush down And here's one fun thing. Before the color dries, you can also add a second layer of the paint to add more depth. Every time you have something like this happen, just blend it out by using the damp brush. Blot out the excess paint and just spread it out. Now here we have a few lines like these, which is just the pressing of the brush. Wipe, sorry, and blend. All right, do you want to try it? This is one technique that can really up your skill big time. Being able to see and create shadows successfully. I sometimes feel that the creation of contrasts like these is a big factor that distinguishes beginner paintings from paintings of experts. Now, when you're doing this painting, please keep observing the flower. Don't imagine anything. You can do this study with a lot of objects, not just flowers. This study can be done with um, metallic objects, wooden objects, anything that casts a shadow or has shadows in it. Maybe even just fabric, plain fabric, and folds on the fabric. Okay, are we done? Or still working on it?
One more minute, please.
Okay, just let me know when you're done, then I will take it forward. Take your time, huh? Don't rush into this. Don't rush through it. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. All right, did you get it? Did you manage? What's the feedback?
I think inside is little tricky. Rest, I think yes.
Okay, did you manage the outside?
Yes.
Okay. All right. If you can just take a picture of this and put it on the group, and then after we color it, we'll see how it changes, how this coloration will change after we paint everything up. But before that, let's address the hibiscus. We'll just do one petal and then we'll move on to the next flower. You can complete the rest of the petals afterwards. Now, I did want some excess color at the base, but it didn't happen. So, how do we address that? The our logical brain says that now let me just start putting color over here. But that is the worst thing you could do because you would start creating patches. So, what we can do is address the whole one petal at a time. You start off with a very light shade of the same crimson and scarlet, lots of water, and make a secondary wash, one petal at a time. And as you are coming lower and lower, you increase the depth of color of your pigment. So you start adding color as you're coming down and keep pulling it down. I think I started pulling it a lot earlier. And now you can dodge around the places that you don't want the color to be, like if there are any uh, pollen strands. And as you come even further down, you can add an even deeper color. So this could be the burnt umber crimson color, or add to that even a blue so that you can get a deep shade just at the base. And now, while this one petal is still wet, if you feel there are some strands you want to make, you can put in just a few lines to create a fuzzy line for these different
You're using the scarlet crimson color for the lines.
Yes, yes, the same one. But I'm using it from the slightly drier section because this is still pretty wet. So I don't want more wet paint on it. These will be the base. And on top of this, I can later make the firmer lines. But they start giving some kind of shape to the petal. See? So the first wash is intended for you to create a base. The second wash is much more controlled so that you can drop in the right amount of color, the right shade in the right place, and create these different variations. All right, do you want to try this? Just make it on one petal. While you all are painting the one petal, I will paint the others also so you can see how they work together. And this one is also the layer in which you can then omit a few sections and create shadows, highlights in the petals. So the other petals don't all are not all the same color throughout, right? So you can make a few brush strokes like that to create blank spaces. And then pull the color inward. So in the event that you don't manage or one stroke does not come fine, that's okay. It will just land up looking like a highlight. So when you're making these lines, just make sure that the direction of the line is well thought out. Don't just make them parallel to each other, don't make them at random. Look at where that line is going. It has to go towards the base of the petal every time. Oh, sorry. This is a blending exercise that we have done in the past. Does everyone remember this exercise? Just pulling the color from one to the other. Then you have light to a dark color or dark to a light. And also uh, from no color to some color, all of that. This is the kind of thing that I will be repeating during the watercolor basics.
I think it's always good to refresh the basics after some time.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Ritika, you're the right person to know
Yeah.
this, I think. I think Alka also, no? Alka's also been there for all the
Yeah.
repeats. Yeah.
I mean, incredibly, 5 years? It's
Yeah,
been.
yeah, 5 years.
Yeah, it's been 5 years. The thing is that you always think that no, this I'm going to practice now, this I'm going to
Yeah.
practice now.
It just,
And then it just gets left. So
Yeah.
I'm going to religiously do my pencil yoga and then yeah, well.
I know, that's why I said I'm only going to do it for everybody now. It's basics, fundamentals.
And even, at the art retreat, when I see you, I say, this is what she has been telling. But
Yeah,
still now.
Yeah, oh my God.
correct. Ritika, you should now start coming for the art retreats like the junior hunter. that
Yes,
I know what I'm talking about. I've been through this. I'm now going to put you all through this.
yes.
Okay, so now beyond this point, we can continue to add more details to the pollen by adding some deep shade or another. And then after everything dries, then we can add the five dark spots. So, how do we distinguish the different pollen over here? You have to just take a little light, oh, sorry, a little bit of the um, crimson scarlet mix and put some color in the negative spaces in between only. So you have to imagine the circles and paint the negative parts to distinguish the lighter part from the darker part, and also the different shapes. So just a few dots inside of that is good enough. And then you can take a proper deep crimson color and put it on those five big dots that we had made separately to make them stand out more. So this is the bare minimum basic that we can do, but there's a lot more that you can do also. Like we made shadows here, you can use either the same deep gray color or a deeper shade of the scarlet crimson itself and mark places like this. Just exactly like before. Just make a stroke underneath some petal or another. Make the space between these anther stalks more pronounced to give them a shadow. And the final bit is making a thick slurry of the crimson and scarlet color and drawing these lines. Now, this is a tricky bit. You should be very confident making lines with a thin brush. And if you're not confident, just go ahead and use a color pencil for this part. So you will have to make very thin lines coming from one end and then becoming thick as you come to the center. This will start giving you some body. How to draw these lines comes much easier when we do pencil sketching. So if you are thinking of making a project with this flower, then the first thing to do is create lots of studies in pencil first, and then a few things about the flower become known to you without you having to um, really peer into every detail every time. And even if it is not visible to you, you will be able to recreate it in another flower as close to the original as you can, because you will have understood the structure. So in some
That
way,
Aditi, you use just a concentrated crimson, is it, to make the fine line?
no, crimson and scarlet, it's exactly the
Oh,
same
it's okay,
color.
fine.
Yeah,
Okay. But it's thicker.
it's thicker. Yes, it's
Okay.
way thicker. Okay, now we have 15 minutes to finish the other two flowers at least, and the third flower I will let you do as homework. So, for the rose, since we have done so much of color in the black and white form, here now you can just drop in these shades very lightly so as to not disturb that coloring. So I'm making a mix of orange and the scarlet crimson. It's a very nice, vibrant color. And here's how I'm applying it. Would you like to just see this part? There is a highlight on this petal, right over here. So I will apply this outside of this petal and try to avoid many of the places where there is a highlight. So just go into the shadows and a little beyond and leave gaps in between. And just use this color itself to color this entire rose. Don't make any changes. Don't add anything. Don't make dark or light shadows. And wherever you are running out of color and there's no highlight there, consider wetting the brush and dragging the paint instead of going and taking new color. Just drag the paint into the sections that don't have it, so you automatically get a slightly lightened version of that color. And now we have to just let it dry for everything to just emerge. We can't do too much musty here because then that will dislodge our lovely shading from the bottom as well. But my faith is that this color is going to become lighter. Okay. Do you want a minute to do this?
The colors here you've used is scarlet, orange, and gamboge.
No, scarlet,
Oh,
orange, and crimson.
crimson.
Yeah, I've just put in an orange in this color. Hmm. Oh, everyone's black and white roses are looking really nice. Let's see how this emerges afterwards. Okay, everyone done with your orange? Let's now address this hangover flower. So, the iris looks like a very complicated flower. So, we don't fall for its complications. We will just go for its chaos, which means that create the kind of shape that you see with squiggles, deliberately making squiggles. And then we are just going to dump color in with very spontaneous strokes. And we will finish this entire exercise in about 5 to 6 minutes. This will be our first layer at least. And then later on, we will add more details if we feel the need. So, how do we do this? You can first start off by making shapes like these. So it's basically two ovals, one on top of the other. Then you have half an oval on one side, and then split these ovals according to their petal shapes. Let me do that again. Yeah, so then you have petal shape 1. This looks like petal shape 2 and 3. And 4 and 5 are self-evident. There's one tiny thing in the back that we can just cover up. This is basically it. There is a little bit on the left happening here, so we can just add that. I don't even know how many petals an iris has. This seems a lot, but so be it. Okay. So, I don't know what is happening now. I'll share this image with you. I don't know, something's wrong with my... Okay, got it. I think my WhatsApp is stuck. Okay, so I guess we're gonna have to go without WhatsApp. We'll just have to do this by memory. So look at the original flower and make your oval shapes. This is one oval. This is the second oval on top. We got the angles more or less right. Over here it's not going to make too much of a difference. And then we've got a teardrop shape on top here, then one on the right. That's it. This is our base shape. Oh, there it comes. Now it started working. Once this is done, then just look at all the crazy lines that you have. We have something that looks like a mohawk right here in the center of the petal. So draw that with just some lines. This becomes a little flat. And then basically we just have a very, very frilly skirt-like shape. Then some weird shape on the left. And an equally weird shape on the right. Lots of frills here. Now on top as well we have these frills. Now here's one thing about the frilly petals. Wherever there is a frill, there is some kind of fold somewhere. If you can address those folds, that will make it even nicer. Like over here, this fold comes like this and like this. So it'll give some body to the petals. If you can't see it or you get super confused about it, then this illustration does not really need it. We don't need to know what part of the flower is what, you just need to make the shape, and that's about it. To paint this as well, we do the same thing, we just allow for the colors to explode. We can make this beautiful color using crimson and ultramarine blue. You get a beautiful purple. And there is another purple that you can get from mixing viridian with, I think it is crimson only. Yeah, so very, very beautiful purple. Both are slightly different, but you can use both these. So here we just are working on very flamboyant color drops. You start off with gamboge in the center. Keep it a little more concentrated than I have kept it. These are the places where you put gamboge. Then you put a little bit of yellow ochre along with gamboge into this petal here. I think a little orange might also be nice. So I'm just adding brush strokes, and these colors are then going to blend or do whatever they want to. And after this is done, I will add more water along the sides for the other petals, and then along the side of the water application I will add my new color, the purple color. So this color is applied like this, where you wanted to blend it is on the inner side of the brush. That way it doesn't get the full brunt of the tip of your brush. And wherever you want it to be a little deeper, you can add the second color. And then let it do its thing. The next one you want to blend, add some paint first. I should blend the one on the side here first, I think. Now, just so you know, if there is a color like that goes into a space you do not want to, how do you lift it? Take a clean brush, wet it with clean water, and just pick up the paint. Just bring it in contact with that paint while it is still wet and lift it up. You can only do a little bit at a time, but sometimes even that is enough. And then it's just the same thing again. Add more color and blend it. So wherever you want lighter shades, put a watery shade of that same crimson mixed with ultramarine blue. And then you can add the slightly deeper blue. So I like to use the same strokes that I see in the flower. That way I get a texture going if even if I do not make any special lines afterwards. Anyway, we need to make these strokes while blending, so you might as well make them radiating and get the job done. Now on the petal on the right, my yellow color has completely dried. I deliberately wanted to show you this also. That suppose this were to happen, don't get too worked up. You can again wet your brush, take a little bit of gamboge and bring it in contact with that color and just run it along the edge while pressing at the same time, and the job is done. So you get a nice blend even then. Just to add more dimension to the flower, the farthest side, the darkest petal, I am making an even deeper, darker color. And that color I can then use for shadows. This dark color is the same um, crimson and viridian green. It's an exceptionally beautiful purple color. Okay, and once this is all done, you can take a fine brush and make these lines if you feel like it, but even if you don't, that's also fine. I am basically a sucker for detail, so I will find a way to make detail even when it's not needed. Now, once this has completely dried, we can also make those dark patches like we did in the rose to give shadows in the parts like on the white parts of the petal, which otherwise have no other color, and also some shadows in the petals themselves. That's it, I guess, just a splash of color. Now, when you're making the stalks, the green stalks for the flowers, ideally don't go in for green directly. blend it a little bit with a little bit of raw umber or yellow ochre, and also add a little blue shadow to it afterwards. So this is our petal. Just put a cobalt blue edge on one side to make it more uneven, the shading more uneven. Okay, so my rose has gone completely peacock. I don't know how it's done that. So I'm gonna have to go over all the shaded areas again. I think the black and white was looking way better than this is looking. But if I were to change
Yeah,
this,
even mine is also all blocky.
yeah,
So it was
no,
much
so
better.
I gave the wrong instruction for the application. We needed to have just a nice watery wash over. I think we might have overworked it. But nonetheless, we know now. So what we can do is go over the same spots. It will come back. All of this will come back. This time it'll be a little firmer. So the second layers that you do will always be more vibrant than the first layers, because obviously there is something underneath it to give that vibrancy. All right. Okay. So that's it.
You always
So that's it. Thank you for watching. If you have any feedback, if you have any problems, do share your comments in the comment section below. Hit like and subscribe. And I look forward to your feedback. Share pictures of what you have made so I can take a look at how you have benefited from this class. I'm happy to help if you have any more questions. And come back again so we can do some more painting. Bye.